You've probably heard quite a bit about China compulsory certification, i.e. the Chinese CCC certification. You may already have experience and know how complicated and expensive it can be. There are several providers of support for the certification on the European market, but getting an overview of Chinese certifications can still be difficult. If you've already had a few headaches with this topic, I'd like to try to give you a certain overview with this video and give you a few tips and tricks on the way, or hints on what you can look out for in order to either save costs or have it a little easier in your certification. I will focus less on the concrete details of the certification processes, as that would simply go too far, too deep. In fact, you may already have experience with this anyway. So my focus will be on which certification covers which products, and I'll give you an overview of the relevant authorities. Let's start with the question, which types of products fall under which certification? Industrial electronics, such as electronic motors, welding machines, and fuses, for example, or IT and other low voltage equipment, and also safety-related automotive components, such as tires, brakes, and glass, for example, fell under CCC until 2019. That meant that the productions had to be audited and the products tested and finally marked. Because that's roughly what CCC process looks like, and these products fell under it until 2019. Now, however, the so-called self-declaration applies to these types of products, and that might sound somewhat similar to CE certification. It is somewhat similar, but what is important with this self-declaration, however, is that the applicant, similar to EAC certification for Russia, must be a local, in this case, Chinese company. As a foreign manufacturer, you cannot submit the application yourself. Well, and that's probably the biggest hurdle of the self-declaration. Now, this self-declaration does not mean that CCC has completely disappeared. There are still some products that have to be certified with CCC, and these include, for example, household appliances, toys, or wooden products. Anyway, who is responsible for this now? Here the situation is a bit more complex. In fact, the individual certification bodies are not government agencies, but rather semi-autonomous companies licensed by the government to carry out certain certifications. CCC certificates, for example, can be issued by, for example, the CQC, CTC, CVC, and even some other organizations. These organizations have been authorized by the CNCA, the Chinese National Certification and Accreditation Administration, to issue CCC certificates. So the CNCA itself is actually the higher level authority that actually belongs to the state. And this CNCA was originally only responsible for the regulations, for example, standards and laws. But by now, it is also responsible for the administration of the self-declaration. By the way, did you know that the largest of the organizations authorized by the CNCA for CCC certification, the CQC, even has satellite offices all over the world? These local offices of the CQC are called CCIC, i.e. China Certification and Inspection X Company, whereas the X stands for the country of that specific office. These branches are authorized to carry out product tests as well as factory inspections from their respective countries. That means that you, as the manufacturer, do not have to have anyone flown in from China at great expense. Instead, you have contact people right where you are in a lot of cases. Even in the case that the communication between you and the CCIC staff might not be working too well, we can help you out. As you can see from the other videos on this channel, I also speak Chinese, so I can help you out. Alright, but let's get back to the individual product groups. So far, we've been in the area of, let's say, everyday things. Of course, there are all kinds of specialized equipment in industry, such as explosion-proof products or pressure vessels. For these specialized product types, there are also specialized CNC authorized organizations. Explosion-proof products, for example, had to be certified with a specialized CCC certification starting in 2020. This certification is also called CCC, but it only applies to X-protected products. And there are currently at least 6 organizations capable of providing this certification. Most notably, CNCA, ZTIAS, and NEPSI. The Special Equipment Licensing Office, abbreviated SELO, in turn, is responsible for pressure vessels, boilers, pipes, and similar products. In this, as in most of the organizations responsible for X certification, you will find English-speaking staff. Again, if, despite that, you still need assistance, feel free to contact us. Now, in addition to all these mandatory certifications, there is of course the possibility of voluntary certification for the products that are no longer subject to mandatory certification, and in fact for almost all other product groups as well. Of course, almost every organization will welcome you with open arms. However, the best known of these voluntary certification providers are certainly the voluntary certifications at the CQC for almost all general products, and the voluntary CCAP certification for automotive components. Okay, regarding the processes. Of course, there are differences between these various certifications. However, almost all of them involve product tests in China, and some of them include factory inspections and marking of the product. I'll save that for later videos though. Alright, I hope this information has been able to give you a rough overview. Of course, as always, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. You can find the relevant contact forms for that on our website. Thank you for your attention. Take care.